welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I am joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Welcome back to the show, Andy. You had a nice little, I say a nice little week off. I know you're a busy
Yeah.
bee,
Oh, I
busy
had
man.
doing loads of horrible DIY and almost getting PJ and Duncan by a paint sprayer. What a time!
Jesus, did that nearly happen?
Yeah, there was
No.
there was some really incomprehensible instructions to relieve the pressure that had built up in the gun, and
Oh dear.
due to a slight miscommunication, um, Karen pointed it into the bucket that was next to my face rather than the one that was safely away from my face.
I love it that you're
And
so polite about that. Due to a slight misunderstanding and miscommunication, Karen sprayed it directly into my eyes.
yeah, so dashing around with like literally it was like a Tom and Jerry, like when Tom puts like a bomb in something and looks like it's gonna go off and like his face just gets exploded.
Yeah.
But instead of my face being all charred and sooty, it was covered in white paint.
Oh
But that was
yeah,
okay.
love it. Did you
Reactions
do
of a fighter pilot, I closed my eyes just in time.
oh, all right, Tom Cruise. Did you do the famous Tom from Tom and Jerry scream? Do you remember how that goes?
Ah, that one.
There's that one. That's a good one. But also there's like a woo, sort of like that one. That sounded more like a
Yeah,
laugh. But you
yeah,
think you
the
know
one
what I mean.
that's the one that when like someone like pokes him in the bum with a spike or something like that, he jumps in the
Yeah.
air. That one. I
Yeah.
did the one that's equivalent to him like banging his foot or something like that. But apart from those, yeah, because
Mm,
of those real life horrors, Ben couldn't get to the cinema to see um,
yeah.
Late Night with the Devil. So thanks for cracking on with Stu because I know we're doing double duty this week.
No problem. I mean, like something like Late Night with the Devil, I wasn't sure how wide the release was going to be. And I guess I sort of feel like that about some of the. I know we've decided to do a new release for every week this month, which is nice, of course, but that does mean four cinema trips potentially, unless things are going to be released on demand, which I don't even know actually. But
Oh, that's so good. It is mostly cinema trips. I will be able to catch up on Late Night with the Devil when it comes out on Shudder before the end of this
yeah,
month, though.
I
So I'll
do, I
catch up with
do,
it then.
I do recommend it, and it was interesting though because me and Stu had quite differing opinions, but of course, both of us being very polite, we're almost like going, "Oh yeah, well you hated it, but you know what? That's fine." And I loved it, but I can understand, and we're almost trying to meet in the middle. But yeah, um, it's good. I like it. I like it.
So did you
I
both give it
ventured
a C in the end? I've not listened to the episode yet.
C plus. I went for an A minus in the end, an A minus, and Stu was on like a C, maybe a C plus. Um, it's definitely one of those though. I think over time I am sort of I think it's because of the negative press from like the AI stuff that's making me kind of think, oh,
You see,
should I
that's
have?
what I've heard, the discourse about the AI, but I've not read anything other than headlines because ironically, I find headlines and articles about AI so fucking tedious. I can't read any of
Yeah,
them.
it's getting pretty tedious now, isn't it? An AI written headline about AI. Yeah, it's not good. Hopefully it will just pisses off and it just piss off. Um, but yeah, apart from that, I guess horror news. We should get into a little bit of it
We've
because
got a couple of bits, haven't we? Snuck up on us in just a couple of days.
yeah. So as you mentioned previously, before we started recording, the lineup for Done Dead, the horror film festival at the DCA, Dundee Contemporary
Yes.
Arts. It's the 12th edition, and there are some premieres, but there are also some classics being shown as well, along with things like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Blood and Black Lace, Candyman, Scream. These are the classics. Slumber Party Massacre, Double Bill. Listen
Is
to this.
that the old and the original, or like the old and
One
the
and two,
remake,
one
or
and
one and
two. It
two?
looks like. I guess
Very
so. I
nice.
don't know actually. I don't know. Thursday, Andy starts off with the old Done Dead film quiz.
I know. Oh, I really want. I have a horrible sinking feeling that I'm away with work that week, but
Uh,
John Crennan and friends will have to go
yeah,
and experience it
fly
for
the
us. But if I am
flag.
at home, I'm definitely going to go. At very least, the quiz, even if I'm away for the weekend. But I
Yeah.
am up your neck of the woods. Sadly, done dead weekend itself at a friend's wedding.
You are. Sadly,
I
you
am.
say.
Yeah,
Sadly.
sadly. Happily
sadly,
for that occasion, but the sad point is that I can't be in two places at once. I'm gonna have to
yeah.
rely on John and Co
So
to report back on this one. But
the
you
16th of
listening should all
May,
go.
yeah, the 16th of May to the 19th of May, Thursday to Sunday. Um, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is going to be a 50th anniversary 4K restoration screening. That is crazy that we're venturing into 50th anniversary territories for films that, I mean, I mean, I guess they do feel that old, but at the same time, it does feel kind of crazy, you know?
But don't
If it's
worry, you're
not
not
in
watching a
black and
50-year-old
white,
copy. 4K
yeah, yeah.
restoration, mate.
4K
Lovely.
restoration, absolutely. And yeah, there are some premieres of new films in the horror world as well. Um, and there's three of them which are French, apparently, 3 out of 6.
You know
I don't
that?
know if that's a theme,
Yeah, me, I
including
bloody love it.
there's a vampire comedy drama called Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person. Sounds good. Red Rooms, She is Conan, an indie comedy called Booger, and a film called Falling Stars as well. So that rounds off the and it looks like it's classic films and new films kind of like off and on, it seems,
Yeah,
throughout the event. Oh, Blood and Black Lace is a 60th anniversary. Wow.
even older,
Uh
and that's not black and white either.
mm.
Prices are decent for this as well. So a full pass for the whole weekend. That's all 12 movies and lovely T-shirt for your trouble to take home. Set
Oh
you
yeah.
back £102 as a standard. £75 if you're an 18 to 25 member, and a
Mm.
half pass, which is also quite lovely. It's not even, you get a half pass and these are the ones you get. You get to choose the 6 of the 12 films that you want to go and see. Still get your
That's
T-shirt.
actually that's good, isn't it?
£54, less than a round of drinks these days.
Especially when there are films showing that, but you might hate them. You might be like, you know what? I absolutely despise the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, disgusting film, but I want to watch some other stuff. You
Or if
know,
you just want to watch the new ones or you just want to watch the
that's
classics,
true.
nice way for you to choose your choice, live your life.
Nice little split. That's good. It's nice to be
Yeah.
given the choice. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
we'll put some links in the show notes for Done Dead. Obviously, go and check that out. Just give it a Google. It's at Dundee Contemporary Arts.
Tickets are
Yeah,
available now or in very short order in the next day or so, right?
yeah. By the time this episode goes live, then most definitely.
You'll be able
Um,
to
the
buy them up.
the other thing I did have to mention was, of course, if you listened to our episode, not last week, but the week before, the Urban Legend episode, you would have heard me say, "Oh, I've just interviewed the guys from the Static Sea. The interview's coming out very, very soon. Can you believe it? Check it out. It's the next episode if you line it up." Unfortunately, that didn't go live, and the reason being was the Static Sea got postponed. So the event was due to take place that Saturday, a couple of weeks ago, but due to adverse weather conditions and obviously the boats being able to land on Flatholm Island, it got postponed until September as well, which is like must be, I'm sure it's incredibly disappointing, but they seem to be quite upbeat and
Yeah.
positive about it. That's Jim and Sophie who I spoke to. We don't
I
know what
guess
we're
the
gonna do with.
irony there, Ben, is that the sea could have been done with being a bit more static for them to be able to get safely across.
You're absolutely chomping at the bit to get in there with that one.
Yeah,
When you're
as
going, "Wait,
soon as you said it.
the
But
sea could have done been a bit more static." But yeah, so I don't know what to do with the interview. Mainly, I did consult them, and they haven't confirmed yet, but we will hopefully get confirmation because we spoke about a lot of cool stuff, not just this event's happening in 2 days, but you can't wait because that might be quite confusing. So we don't know whether we are going to keep it until it's closer to September, which we could do, or maybe like edit out the bits where we're saying the event happens this Saturday. I don't know. We'll
just
work
dub
out
in
what
your
happens.
voice saying and it's happening on September the
And a really poor microphone, just like,
yeah.
and it's happening. The Saturday the third. I don't even know if that's a date.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
So
I
we
don't, I
can
don't
we
know.
can dub those in, but as you say, like in many ways, silver linings. If the first time you heard about this event was Ben talking about it, guess what, everybody? You've now got 6 months
Mm,
to get stuck in, have a little think about catch up on the back material, do the reading. I know some of their video is available online, right? Some of the previous things they've done, if I'm
mm.
not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And of course, get involved in the Discord as well, so you can see updates for the for the event, and I guess the new date when it goes ahead, and catch up with the story. And I'm sure they won't just be leaving it till September. I'm sure there'll be plenty more content to consume between now and then. Um, yeah. In terms of other news, the trailer for Cuckoo just went live. Now, we are recording this a week in advance, so it would have been out for a week now. But I don't know if you know much about this. This is the writer-director Tillman Singer. His new strange horror movie. It's a neon horror movie. It's called Cuckoo, starring Hunter Schafer, who was in Euphoria, and as we know, she's in the new Hideo Kojima project as well. Um, but yeah, there's a trailer. As reluctantly, 17-year-old Gretchen leaves her American home to live with her father, who has just moved into a resort in the German Alps with his new family. Arriving at their future residence, they are greeted by her father's boss, who takes an inexplicable interest in Gretchen's mute half-sister Alma. Why wasn't this included? Something doesn't seem right in this twankle in this twankle vacation paradise. Gretchen is plagued by strange noises and bloody
Strange noises,
visions.
and she's just a little baby. So
Just a little baby, a bloody vision until she discovers a shocking secret that also concerns her own family. I mean, it looks like, is it generational trauma? Is it one
better
of
not
those?
be.
Is it a highbrow horror movie? Looks a bit like it. Um, so, but again, I've heard good things. In terms of the cast as well, Dan Stevens, who's in bloody everything these days. He was in Godzilla X Kong recently, which was all right. Jessica Henwick, who was in Underwater, and then plenty of other people as well. Wait a minute, have you seen Godzilla X Kong? I suppose you haven't.
All this DIY, Ben, I've not even made it to see my old mate Godzilla. Also, Kong's there. So, but I've heard
I
it's all
think
right,
it's.
same as
I'll tell
you.
you what. I think it's the other way around in this film, mate.
I've
The
heard it's
other,
a lot. I've heard it's a lot of Kong,
the other way
which
around
is
is
okay. I don't dislike King
King
Kong.
Kong. What are you playing at? And then Godzilla goes, you know what? I'm here as well. Um, it was all right. You know, I thought I rated it maybe slightly less than Godzilla versus Kong, but in terms of I went to cinema to see two pretty big blockbusters back to back. I think I preferred it to Ghostbusters,
I've heard
Frozen.
it's very much tanked the Ghostbusters. Like the drop off has been pretty big. Like people didn't see
Yeah,
it because oh, Godzilla's out now. Also Kong.
Godzilla's out there. See you later. Um, yeah. So Cuckoo. I haven't actually watched the trailer, but I probably will, you know, just to see what's going down. And the last piece of news I've got, Andy, is Russell Crowe updates on a potential sequel to The Pope's Exorcist with a trilogy potentially planned. Did you end up seeing this in the end?
I saw it on a plane. It's very silly. It's quite fun though.
Mm.
I
But if
like
you
him
remember,
with his
there's a moment.
coffee.
No, oh yeah, a little coffee in his little. Is it Vespa?
Yeah, driving around in his Vespa. And like
I
his
am
like
the
sometimes he has a
Exorcist.
really Italian accent and sometimes he just talks normally.
True.
Um sometimes he is like bursting in, it's a me, the Pope's exorcist, and other times he's like, hello, it's me,
All
Rusty.
right, it's me. If you remember, the film ended, and this isn't really a spoiler, but the film ended almost opening up the world as if to say, "Oh, you've done an exorcism, have you? But look at all these other people who need help." And it was
Well,
almost
he
like,
does
right,
do.
okay.
How many did he do in real life? 10,000, like 100,000
Oh yeah,
exorcisms.
we've discussed this on the show as well before. I mean, we've gone, how many exorcisms would you have to do a day in order to be hitting those numbers? It's more than one,
Just doing
right?
stadiums full, right? So literally Wembley Arena, 20,000 people. He just drives
The
over with his
power of
flies over,
Christ compels you over like over a megaphone or like over the town. Or like,
blesses a rain cloud, so all the water that comes out of it's holy.
that's a great idea.
How he
That'd be
sorts it out.
terrifying. Imagine being
Get those numbers
in a
up.
stadium full of people possessed. That's a
Bloody
plot
hell.
for you right there. We've already seen that film where Dave
But like a
Bautista's trying
London
to
derby, it would be all those people.
Millwall, Millwall. Are they possessed? Are they just Millwall fans? Who knows? We've already seen that film where Dave Bautista is like taking down some terrorists in a football stadium in the West Ham football stadium. I think. Let's get more films set in a football stadium full of
Yeah,
people.
I mean we've had sudden death, the ice hockey thing. Just give it
Oh
all
yeah,
sports. Give me that film, but
yeah.
every sport. Penalty shootout where
Penalty shootout where the
where you
head.
take it in turns to shoot people one at a time. Right, so now
Oh
it's
yeah.
your turn. I've dodged it. Now it's my turn. Got you. Okay.
I've dodged it. Bullet time. Uh, I mean that is all I've got for news. Pretty, got not really thin on the ground. No more, no
That's
less
okay.
than
You only did an episode 2 days ago in your time, Ben,
yeah.
so that's all right.
That's
The
true.
only thing I'll tell you that I've got, which is sort of news, but I believe it's out in previews, but it's out in the cinemas the end of next month, I think. In a Violent Nature. Have you seen the trailer for this?
I don't think so, you know.
I
I don't
caught a
think I've
trailer
seen
for
this.
it today. Here's the synopsis. Nature is unforgiving. The enigmatic resurrection, rampage, and retribution of an undead monster in a remote wilderness. It's got big Jason energy.
Wait,
It looks really good.
is it done from the point of view of the killer?
Yes.
Yes, I've heard of this. I have. I haven't watched the trailer, but I read a little article about it in a violent nature. So just from the point of view of the killer, going, he's right after all, you know. They
Yeah.
deserve it. Is
Serves
that
them
what
right
we're
shagging
saying?
in the woods and all that.
Shagging in the bloody woods, how dare you? Um, awesome. So I guess what we've been watching, I haven't really seen much more. I don't know if you've seen all that much this week.
I've got one to tell you about, Ben, that I managed to
Okay.
sit down and watch.
Very
Gone back
nice.
to the Of the Dead series. After we
Oh,
had a little bit
lovely.
of zombie film watching recently, I skipped over watching Land of the Dead because I kind of want to do an episode on that one because it's a real fun movie.
Yeah,
But
good shout.
um, I did go ahead and watch Diary of the Dead again. I think one of George A. Romero's last
Oh my
films that
God,
he
yes.
did.
I remember that.
Um, I saw it at the cinema back in the day, and
Did you?
yeah, show my age a bit, but yeah, saw it at the cinema back in the day. It was after Land of the Dead, and I thought it's been a while. I'm going to rewatch this. Um, it's got some interesting set pieces in it. It's got some interesting bits, but it's very early days of found footage. You know, where you've got a cameraman who is consistently being told to put the camera down and get it out of
Yeah.
people's faces, and like say, "No, man, I just have to document what's going
Yeah.
on with all this."
I gotta
But
document this shit.
there's some funny stuff that happens. There's one bit where they upload their zombie footage to YouTube, and there is quite
Takes
an
ages.
expanded conversation where it's like 7,000 views in so it's like 70,000 views in 8 minutes. Come on, by tomorrow
Wow.
it could be a million, and then for some reason when people are having problems with the internet, it manifests watching an internet video where you still get static on the screen rather than it just buffering and not working. It's like
Classic.
there's a lady in Japan doing a message from obviously to show us that zombies are all over the world, and she's speaking in broken English going through there, but also every so often it's like and it's like, what's happening? Why are we losing the video of these things? It's a little bit mismatched. It's a little bit lots of set pieces with limited tissue to connect them. It's just like, oh,
Hmm.
and now this is happening. But there's some fun stuff in it. I'm glad I revisited it.
Yeah. I've definitely seen it, but just the once, I think, and probably around about that time. I didn't go to the cinema. Um, but yeah, I'd definitely be interested in checking it out. It wasn't his last film, was it?
One of his later like of the Dead films, but I think he probably did another couple.
Yeah. Interested to know. But yeah, his later of the Dead films. What? It was Land of the Dead and then that one, wasn't it? That was
And
like the
yeah, it was that. And then I think there is Survival of the Dead that follows, but I can't be
Yeah,
certain if it's
that's
him.
right. 2009, director and writer, Survival of the Dead is his last film, yeah.
Okay, so there's one
Survival,
more to go. I might do that one next.
mm,
I
survival
don't think I've
isn't
seen that one.
just for the living. Yeah, so it's almost like that's like the later trilogy then, isn't it? Land of the Dead, Die of the Dead, Survival of the Dead.
Yeah.
Those were the
It's
sort of
just,
like next
yeah,
three.
my only disappointment is that Land of the Dead is by far the boldest and most exciting one. It feels almost like that could be a
Yeah.
follow on to Day of the Dead. It's really, there's a lot of fun stuff in that.
Yeah, surely. Surely it must be, isn't it? Um,
And it's
awesome.
got The Mentalist in it.
Simon Baker.
Yeah, Simon Baker, The Mentalist. And it's
Dennis
got
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper. And it's got
Yeah.
John Leguizamo there,
And there's a
Luigi
zombie.
himself.
Yeah, and there's a zombie called the Big Daddy Zombie.
Yeah, great. Great. We'll definitely do that. Next time we come up to a zombie film, I'm pitching for this one.
Yeah, well, obviously we've done Night of the Living Dead, we've done Dawn of the Dead, we've done Day of the Dead. Land of the Dead is the next
Yeah.
logical step, right? If we're
Follows
going,
on. Like, I remember seeing that off the back of watching good old Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake. liking that as well.
Definitely. The only thing I have watched, I mean, I did mention again previously to share that I have still been playing Elden Ring, which does have some horror adjacent stuff going
Or
on in it.
spooky ghoulies in it, aren't there?
Lots of spooky ghoulies, spooky creatures. I have managed to beat the final boss now, despite taking, I reckon, 50 attempts to do it, and that in itself is a real life horror because I don't know what kind of patience I usually have for doing boss fights like that. But it's one of those games that just keeps giving you just enough to try again, where you're like, ah, you know what? Maybe I'll try this. There are just so many different options of stuff you can do and items you can use that you're just constantly you get stuck in a loop of just like trying again, and then you're like die with the boss have a sliver of life, and you're like, well, I was so close. I've got to try again,
Got to
and
try
then
again.
and then you'll get owned, and then you'll go, well, that don't really count as an attempt.
Because that
So
wasn't that like, yeah, until I've done that well again, then that counts like you tried. I'm glad you felt that way about it and got something. And I know I'm in the minority here because for so many people it was game of the year, but I'm like the bloody dad in Night Swim. I'm like, oh, can't win. What's the point in trying? Just die.
I mean, it does feel like that. I mean, some of the negative things I've probably uttered, I've spoken out loud, like,
Oh, I
it's
know.
just not fair. It's not designed to be beaten. It's not designed to it's not designed to be beaten. It's not fair. All that stuff. And sometimes I'll just like sort of yell out.
Yeah,
I try not to do a big yell, but just like a bang.
yeah,
Like,
just
all
to
right.
make sure your neighbors don't think you're an abuser. Oh, where's you yelling?
What was he yelling? I do a big raspberry. That's my one of my go-tos.
Yeah, I love a raspberry. Can't actually be that threatening.
Yeah. I just go, all right, yeah, like that, is it?
Yeah,
But
the amount
I
of times I've just silently given the finger to my TV, just sat there like,
swivel on it, mate. I have beaten the final boss, but apparently there is a more difficult like optional boss to fight. So I'm gonna go and find her next. Maybe not next, but I've still got quite a few. I don't think I'm gonna platinum it because there are some trophies you got to like see multiple endings. Can't be bothered. Uh, yeah, really can he be bothered? So yeah, we'll see how we get on with that. Getting close to completing everything. And the other thing I've watched is last night I watched the Bray Wyatt documentary, Becoming Immortal, the story of the late WWE wrestler, and of course, so much horror centric stuff with him based on his character, The Fiend. And of course, when he debuted his character as this kind of like cross between um the Cape Fear character from sorry, Robert De Niro's Cape Fear character, I can't remember what he's called, and kind of like a sort of Florida cult leader guy. And it was interesting seeing all the stuff behind the scenes of like the creative process and that, because obviously he loved horror movies. He grew up watching like Beetlejuice and Ghostbusters, but then was more into like slashers and stuff. And Tom Savini, even though he's not in the documentary, like I know he had a hand in making a lot of the masks that he that he made for Bray. Um, yeah, it is sad. It's difficult to watch because obviously he's like a family man, and all of his friends are kind of on there, all like crying. So it is like, oh God, pretty tough watch. But I think as someone who's a fan of horror and the wrestling, it's
and the
nice to
documentary, your three
and a
big things.
documentary. It's lovely when those things come together. Yeah, and it's WrestleMania week as well. Obviously, by the time this episode goes out, WrestleMania would have happened. We will know if Cody Rhodes has finished the story or not. But I'm gonna be away for WrestleMania as well, which is bizarre for me. I'm gonna have to just.
Are you going to ignore all spoilers and watch it when you get home, or are you going
I
to
don't think I'll
read
be
about
able
what
to.
happens?
I think I'll read about what happens, but maybe not in detail. I'll see what the results are. I'm not going to be able to avoid it because I think I follow almost every current WWE wrestler slash like every official wrestling page, just so the news on WrestleMania Day will just be all
Unavoidable.
over it. Unavoidable. But I don't really
Probably get
mind.
notifications about it. Tell you what, Ben, speaking of getting notifications about it, if I may just dive back into a tiny little hot quick news. You know what you could
Hell
be
yeah.
watching in the future, but we're not watching right now, and you could get bulletins about if you sign up to their Kickstarter. Some of your friends and mine, the good
Yes.
folks behind the Cult of VHS, have just launched the Kickstarter for the sequel. Cult of
Yes, indeed.
VHS Part 2.
I
Live
saw
now.
live now a follow-up documentary about VHS culture. Uh, yeah, I, I mean, it was a great documentary, and it was one that premiered at Fright Fest 2023. I think that's right. 2000. No, Fright Fest the one before, I guess, so 2022.
22.
22, bloody hell. So yeah, that is being made. There's loads of different rewards you can get on Kickstarter, including like t-shirts, pins, prints, loads of cool stuff, VHS centered. I'm just scrolling now and having a look at it, and I'm going, I want all that stuff. So I'm gonna have to get involved. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to get
I gave it a
involved.
little back in myself and picked this one up
Oh,
from the
lovely.
start.
Awesome stuff, man. Sounds beautiful. I think anything VHS related at this stage in time for horror fans is just lovely. It's like catnip. Catnip.
Yeah,
Show
and
me
it
all
was
the
for us personally, it was one of the first times we encountered now previous guests a couple of times, both Aaron and Kev, right?
Aaron and Kev. That's where we first saw their faces, and we said, you know what, get those guys on the show.
I know what they're talking
Um,
about.
and Aaron has even messaged me recently to say, when are we going to get him and Jake West back for Phantasm Free?
Oh, isn't that a Christmas movie? Well, we can do it before Christmas.
Is it? I
Yeah.
mean, if it,
Well,
regardless, we gotta get him back. Um, I mean, so yeah, that's pretty much all I've been watching, apart from
apart from people moving things ever so slightly and doing little picture of it, some stop motion.
stop motion. Yeah. So it's the film of the week. It's a brand new release. It's a 2023, so I'm guessing that was when it was made, but it's obviously premiered elsewhere. Stop Motion is a 2023 British live action adult animated psychological horror film. I mean, by saying adult animated, I guess just scary animated. It's not like a sexy one.
It's not they
Directed by
reading the Financial Times.
directed by Robert Morgan in his feature-length debut. Can you believe it? The film stars Aisling Franciosi, and it combines live action and stop motion animation. The story: a stop motion animator struggles to control her demons after a loss of her overbearing mother. Um, oh dear, we've all been there. Stop motion. What am I saying the title again? 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb. 90% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. 50% critic score on
Oh,
Rotten Tomatoes. What a difference. On
how many does it show?
Letterboxd,
How many reviews that is? Has it been heavily reviewed, or is it quite a light one?
I haven't got that information in front of me,
Could be
unfortunately, but
millions, could be 10.
could be millions, could be 10, exactly. So 3.1 on Letterboxd. And then choice reviews. Universe Zero says stop motion is a treat, delirious, psychedelic, and often nauseating. Full of carry on and creeping dread. Carrion, carrion. How'd you say that word? I've played a game called that, and I didn't even
Carrion.
know it's carrion. Not full of carry on, like, oh,
Sid
matron.
James.
uh, not Barbara Windsor's Norks. Full of carry on and creeping dread and soaked in neon and fuchsia. 4.5 stars. I like that. I like that review.
Yeah.
Buns.jpg says Wallace and Gromit, more like malice and vomit. 3.5 stars. See what they did there? Emma LUC says fucking disgusting. Absolutely putrid.
Five
Of
stars.
course, of course the director is British. As a people, they're rather quite gross. 4 stars. Emma LUC, you may be correct, but how dare you? How
Yeah.
dare you? Josh Rowley says, creepy, cryptic, dark, grisly, nonsensical, short, slow burning, squirm inducing, trippy, unsatisfying, well crafted, wince inducing. 3 stars. What's the difference between a wince and a squirm?
I reckon duration. I reckon Wince is like, ooh, and a Squirm is like, oh.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's probably the best description of it so far. 3 stars.
Great audio as well if you're not on the video.
Yeah, 3 stars for that one. So it seems to be moving about. And now I will say that without spoiling what my review is going to be, I'm not going to do that. This was one that it's been on my radar for a while. I remember seeing the trailer and being like, "Oh yes, that looks right up my alley. Like a bit of that, very creepy." And as the first chance I got to watch it, I thought I have to. And then when we're talking about doing new movies all April, I was like, hell yeah, let's do stop motion because it's a little bit different in terms of the things that we're covering this month. I guess like things like Late Night with the Devil, and then like The First Omen and Abigail, who are like big Hollywood horror movies,
Yeah.
really, aren't they?
Good Slint, a bit more independent, nice British movie. And I don't know if you picked this by design, Banks. I know you first watched it a few weeks ago, but very Eastery. The first shot is a big egg.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Something else has got the first shot of a big egg recently that I watched. I feel like I've watched more than
Does
one thing.
hatching
Where
start with a big egg?
I'll tell you what does start with a big egg: the Invisible Raptor.
It does start with a
It
big egg.
does. It starts with a big egg, and it turns out it's just an egg in the fridge. It's not a dinosaur popping out of an egg. It's just an egg in the fridge. Someone's eating our boiled eggs.
Has any podcast ever said the words big egg many as this many times in good succession?
I do love a big egg. Although a big Easter egg, I haven't committed to that this year. I've had a normal size one.
It's
Do
about
you
the
have an
quality
Easter
of the
egg?
chocolate, isn't it? I had an Easter egg. I got Karen got me a lovely Tony Chocolonely one, which is very nice, a premium
Very
Easter egg
nice.
if you care about people earning living wages as
Yeah,
well, which I do. So good on us. And
brilliant.
it's very delicious, and it helped me get through lots of DIY.
Oh, great. I had a Terry's chocolate orange egg,
Very nice.
and you get a Terry's chocolate orange as well, of course. But then I was worried for a while. I was like, what if the egg's not orange flavored? What if they've
Was it?
skimped on that? It was.
Terry's don't
So
fuck about. Come on.
Terry's don't fuck about. It's not Terry's, it's mine, which is probably the greatest chocolate based tagline I think there has ever been for an
Yeah,
advert.
agreed.
And it's one that I will say every time. Every time someone says Terry's chocolate orange, I go, it's not Terry's, it's yours, isn't it? Got him, got him, got him. Um, yeah, so this film was on my radar for a while. I thought it looked suitably creepy, a nice British story as well. And do you know what? For me personally, something about stop motion animation has always kind of put the willies up me, if you like, through
Yeah.
fear of a better term. Ever since the days of Ray Harryhausen animating Medusa in Clash of the Titans, that sort of animation style, even when it turns up in something nice. I remember there was it like some sort of animated, like Christmas cartoon, or sorry, animated Christmas animated film with like a fox or something, or like a short, and
Oh,
that was kind of
fantastic,
stop
Mr.
motion.
Fox, that with the George Clooney one. That's sort of
No, not
stop
that.
motion, isn't it?
It is, but it's not that. I'll need to find out what it is. But there was that, and that was something that was always on every Christmas. I remember being a kid and thinking, "This is horrible. This is creepy. It feels like a
Yeah,
horror
it is
film."
quite creepy. And these ones, do we know? Because it obviously visually or immediately reminded me of what was the Phil Tippett one a couple of years ago now.
Mad God, Mad
Mad
God.
God.
Yeah,
Is there a similar production team behind that? Like, not saying they've used a technique known as copying, but it visually gave me like those chilly vibes from it because it is quite gross stop motion that they do.
yeah. I'm not sure, you know. Now you say it, I'm
I'll
not
try
sure.
and find
But
that out.
it does always feel familiar, doesn't it? There's something gross about it, something otherworldly. And yeah, not just Clash of the Titans, but everything Ray Harryhausen put his hand to, like Jason and the Argonauts and everything like that, used to creep me out. Um, so to see it sort of like combined with live action felt like something that would be really cool, despite the fact that like obviously it's an arduous process going through, isn't it? Doing the old stop motion, and to watch it like happen in this film made me think, oh God, I don't know if I'd have the patience. Would
Yeah,
you?
oh, it always reminds me of doing the stop motion. You know how annoyed you can get when you're trying to do something fiddly or difficult and it just goes slightly wrong? I could just imagine absolutely getting my hair off with it and losing my mind just little bits. We just be like, the opening bit, right? We have the scene with the mother sitting over her, like going, sit still, don't even move, don't even blink, and she immediately blinks as she's saying it. But she's shouting it in it, and just imagine you'd move it, or when she's moving these characters, and she says like, move it move the hand one
One
millimeter.
millimeter.
I could just imagine you'd be coming in ever so closely, and then I struggle to carry a cup of tea down the stairs without spilling it sometimes. Like
Yeah.
I could just imagine you be moving it every so and then just like go and just like accidentally move it 3.5 feet. And then you'd be like, oh, that's
Well,
it then. That's
there's
entire
even a
film ruined.
there's even a bit where the mum like says that everything you did yesterday, do it again, and I'd be like, ah, no. Even me watching this film was getting bored of the bit they were animating. I was like, move on to something else. This bit, like a little Cyclops lady, just like looking at a version of herself dead on the floor. I was like, I've seen this.
You, that little girl who literally comes around and goes, "It's boring."
It's bloody boring, and then burps all the time.
Yeah.
Man, I'd
She's
be
the
like,
best.
who on earth do you think you are, girl? Bloody burping, coming around telling me how to do stop motion. First of all, you turn up asking about stop motion. How do you do the stop motion then? Suddenly you're the expert. Why is
And
she listening to her?
immediately touches all your stuff.
Oh yeah, I'd be fuming. Absolutely fuming, as you should be. Uh, so yeah, I
So yeah, we
think
yeah,
let me.
creatively, like I loved it. Like immediately, like visually compelling. Something different, which I think I've been really hungry for
Mm,
recently. So a little bit different, something with like a different visual appeal. And something that I mean, we'll talk through the plot as we go through it. I think a really compelling, dark plot had lots of nuance to it, which again, heard me harp on about things recently when it's just when some things are a little bit. I don't know. I just feel like a bit of an imagination. I'm like, okay, what's the deal here? But like, really, really interesting.
yeah, and it's a way of like presenting something that's maybe got a bit of a supernatural edge, without it being, you know, a ghoulie or
Yeah,
some other sort of monster. Like this is uh, something created by the main character. So Aisling Franciosi plays the main character Ella Blake. Stella Gannay is Suzanne, and then the boyfriend is called Tom York, not Tom York of Radiohead fame, playing a character called Tom. They've gone, listen, we've written your name down in this script, and he's gone, I only go by Tom. And they've
yeah,
gone, yeah, but this is fiction. It doesn't matter. They've done the old for, for extras with what was his name? Keith Chegwin. Keith Chegwin didn't real and there are Carolyn Springle is the little girl, and then there's some others like supporting cast, including the Ashman, who was bloody horrible, wasn't he?
the
Bloody
Ashman.
Ashman, the Ashman. Um, but yeah, it's something about the way this film is shot and also where it takes place, which is kind of like in an old block of flats that have been like rented out as like office spaces, I guess.
Yeah,
Kind
office
of remind,
spaces and all very like mm, uniform, very like they're all the same. They're
yeah,
all absolutely identical, almost like Soviet, but like it's
very
interesting. It's a
Soviet,
weird setting.
almost like the block of flats in 28 Days Later. Remember when they run up the
Yeah,
and where is it Brendan Gleeson or
yeah.
yeah, Brendan Gleeson, his flat where he's keeping it, just everything just feels a bit like everything's super familiar because we've all been in a flat like that. Some people in the UK obviously have lived in flats like that, especially with that little hatch. What would you call it? Serving hatch? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, like a little serving hatch that you
Yeah.
can
I've got a dinner. I've done a dinner, but I can't be bothered to
not
walk
carrying it around. I
round
pass it through this little mini door just for
pass it
dinners.
through this little mini door. All I remember is that Mr. Bean had one of them, didn't
He did.
he? He loved a good serving hatch.
He lived on his
Absolutely
own as
loved
well.
it. Yeah,
Pointless.
he did. No, actually, he did live with a Teddy. Remember that.
Yeah.
Don't forget Teddy.
He ain't
Uh,
passing it to Teddy, though, is he?
that's true. That's true. Um, so yeah, I mean, it felt like it could have gone in a lot of different directions, with obviously there being an overbearing mother trying to live up to your mother's success, I guess, in a
And she's like a
way.
legendary filmmaker, right?
A legendary like filmmaker. Lots of people know who she is. Like some of her friends, some of Ella's friends, like know who she is. They're like, oh yeah, I love her stuff. I've seen all of her films. Seen her films are great. Yeah, they're brilliant. They've got what they called Cyclops Lady. Yeah, that's a good one. You should really make a
Cyclops
sequel
Lady
to that.
1.
Cyclops Lady One. Cyclops Lady Returns. Like Cyclops Lady Strikes Again.
Cyclops Lady
Uh,
Begins. Cyclops Lady, the Dark Cyclops.
One Eye. That's the reboot. Um, so yeah, essentially we start off, we're introduced to these characters, Ella and Suzanne. Initially, I wasn't sure if it was a mother and daughter relationship. I kind of thought it might have been like protege, and
Yeah, like an assistant, like
yeah, I don't know.
case.
And maybe it was just because the way Suzanne spoke to Ella. I was like, there's no way a mum would speak to her daughter like that. Of course, that is very possible. Um, and we see a close up of like Suzanne's hands, and they're obviously like, I guess she got arthritis because
Yeah,
there's a
she's got
bit.
arthritis in her hands because she's been moving things by 1 millimeter at a time for too many years, and
That's
her
what
hands are all
happens.
fucked up.
That's what happens, and that's what's going to happen to you, Ella, if you don't take a stand. So basically, she's enlisted her daughter to help complete the most recent film. What are they wearing as well? Kind of like little tabards, just so you don't get
Yeah,
any.
they're like, I guess it's like clean room stuff. Basically, they've got like a high neck, like a Star Trek villain. Um, he says
Yeah.
wearing a black turtleneck today. Yeah, like
Have you been doing a bit of stop motion, mate?
I have actually been getting in with the cameras, moving my mug here just a tiny amount.
Tony amount.
Um, yeah, so she's finishing this film for her, and it's like she's doing it. She's making those little moves, and
Hmm.
the first scene, you can see that it's quite an intense process. And I think Ella says, "Oh, I've got an idea." Because no, don't want to bloody hear your ideas. These are my ideas, all right?
Yeah, it is like that, isn't it? Like it's not a collaborative process. It's very much
Take
like
take your ideas, put them in the palm of your hand like that, and stick them up your ass, mate. Is what she said. She said.
take your ideas, squish them down into a tiny, tiny little ball, run them under the tap, and then stick them straight at your arse. Yeah, it's not a collaborative process. It's very much like Suzanne basically telling Ella exactly what to do, and almost using her like a tool in herself, isn't it? Like, now
Yeah,
take the shot now, will you, of this little Cyclops lady? If you're confused by us saying little Cyclops lady, the film they're making is like a little stop motion film about like a Cyclops lady in some fantasy world who has like made a deal with
with
someone to
with a
maybe
god, she'd given up one of her eyes to see the future. Except,
yeah.
guess what? You've
The
seen
future
yourself
is
dead.
The future is
You dead
you're absolutely
outside.
dead. But not just that, you're dead wearing exactly the same clothes as you're wearing right now, and you're the same age. So it's probably gonna happen like today or soon.
Surely, if that was the case, what you want to do is just take those clothes off and never wear that outfit again. Fade fate.
That's true, exactly. And then you'll do that. You'll take those clothes off, put a different outfit on, then you turn out, go back out, and the dead body have the new clothes on as well.
Never go to that bit of outside again. Um, yeah, so she's doing that, and then we have a little bit of a introduction to some more characters. We see that Ella is caring for her mother in all other aspects as well. So she's chopping up the steak for her next day, and she's
Yeah.
obviously quite controlling it a little bit, slightly smaller pieces. Poppet calls her Poppet all the time, even in sometimes in a nice way, sometimes in a horrible way. She goes,
I
"Oh."
When I having steak for breakfast,
The next day she does. Ella has a bowl of porridge, has a bowl of frosties or something.
what do you want for breakfast? I want
Steak.
steak, but make it blue. I want it
Yeah, and that's
absolutely leaking.
and there's a change in their relationship, and I don't understand. Maybe she's just sick of it. But so the first day she is chopping it up for her, and they're getting there, and then Ella goes out. She goes and sees her boyfriend Tom and his sister and some mates. They go out to the pub,
Yeah.
and she goes and does some macking on with Tom back at his house.
Macking
Um,
on.
has a bit of a
Was
sleepover, and he plays. I mean, we shouldn't complain. We have one-dimensional girlfriend characters in plenty of films, but Tom does one-dimensional boyfriend character where basically his job is to, when she has to get up to go back, go, oh, don't go.
Don't go.
Uh,
Stay and stay in a bed with me. Oh no, I gotta go. I gotta do the bloody Cyclops film. Absolutely. We can't let Aardman be systematically hogging all the stop motion success. All right.
yeah, so we've got to get on it. If Wallace and Gromit do a Cyclops Destiny story before we do, then then we've had it.
We're
Nick Park
absolutely
is
screwed.
ruthless, so you won't hear the end of it. So um he is like she's got to get back. She gets back, and basically it feels like she has to cover up the fact she went out at all because it's
Yeah.
not made expressly clear whether she just has to get back because her mom will need her as soon as she gets up, or if it's that she's not meant to be going
Yeah.
out and
To be
leaving
fair
her.
though, you ever had when you've had a skinful, the next day you can be a bit shaky, right? She's not going to be
knocking
very
it.
good.
Yes, that
You're right.
she's
You bloody stink! You absolutely reek. We were on the Sambucas last night. You're shaking like a leaf.
you had garlic dip and your kebab on the way home. You're absolutely a stinker. So
Oh,
she gets home and basically she lies down on the bed. No sooner as she closes her eyes than her mum's up saying, "Come on then,
come on, it's bedtime. Sorry, not
got
bedtime.
some,
It's not
got
bedtime. It's
somebody,
uptime.
got a bloody cyclops film to make." And we'll have breakfast first
We
though.
got a Cyclops film, and I'm absolutely gasping for pretty much a big old slab of raw meat. What do you reckon the raw meat represents? Because obviously the raw meat is very prevalent in this film in these initial scenes, but also later on it becomes part of like the puppetry and the stop motion stuff.
Yeah,
What does it represent? Because I almost feel like sure there is some of that. I hate to say it. I really hate to say it, Andy. Family trauma
yeah.
coming into this, but
There's a bit
not
of
in
family
like a
trauma
real,
and just
not in a really over the top ridiculous way, is it? It's almost like girl. You can break it down quite easily. It's like she has got mummy issues in a way, but it's not because of abuse by any sense of the word.
yeah. The issue
Maybe
that she has is her
slightly
mom's a
emotional
pain in
abuse.
the ass. Yeah,
Her mum's a pain in the ass, and obviously it's living up to the success of her mum by essentially going into the same um, career as her. Which obviously is bound to be a thing. When you're kind of growing up, if you're just doing something that's essentially like the family business, and also the representation of like it's like she's being punished for being younger, like by going because you're young and your hands work. You're basically now you're
you're
my
basically
puppet.
my hands.
You're my
Yeah.
puppet. I'm stop motion animating you, and you in turn are stop motion animating Cyclops lady. We gotta give
You
her a
are my
name.
hands. Stop motion animating the Cyclops lady. And unlike the previous night where she's cut a mum's steak up, apparently that's a one meal deal. Because at breakfast time, she just
Yeah.
whacks a meat down on the plate for her and says, "Right, get it
Is it
down, yeah."
is it literally just steak? There's no sides at all. There's no stuffed mushrooms,
No
no sweet
potatoes, no
potato fries,
tomatoes.
no peppercorn sauce.
I mean, it's
Nothing.
breakfast, so not even an egg.
Not even an egg for your troubles. Just a horrible slab of meat. Um, yeah, it's pretty nuts. Uh, and then how does this happen? Because I know so Suzanne suffers a stroke and falls comatose. Remind me how this
Well,
happened. Does
it
Ella
gets
like
quite a
witness it?
it's quite a stressful confrontation. So she's again saying, right, you've got to move it just right. And she's again very
Oh yeah,
particular about what happens. And she reaches the point where she's like, right, do not move. Don't move, don't blink, don't even breathe. Despite the fact I've absolutely got a plug socket, chockers with how many plugs
oh
can you
yeah.
imagine you can fit in a plug socket?
Oh
Right.
no, this is insane.
Imagine how many you could put in, Ben, and feel
Eight.
safe.
Oh, and
Double
feel
it. There's at
safe.
least
uh,
16.
I mean, I could put it and feel safe. Four. I think any more than that. When
Yeah.
you got those little adapters, like the little cube. Once you got them knocking about in an already extensionally, you're off your head.
You're in a
Like,
spot of bother, and like it feels like a mom has got big powerful light. She's got a phone on charge. She's put the kettle on. She's got a little fan heater in the room. Got the camera
yeah.
plugged in. Got a laptop on charge.
Oh
So many
dear.
plugs into like a single outlet, and all like the most dangerous looking plugs that start sparking. And just leave that. Don't even look at it. You
Don't
concentrate on
even look
holding
at.
this little Cyclops woman exactly still, and then it goes off again. It has a big old spark, shorts everything out, just
Yeah.
as like Ella kind of loses her mind with doing this thing, and
Yeah. Had a
I
guts
mean it's
full.
quickly overshadowed. Getting ready for you to feel bad about this because her mom has a stroke at this time.
Yeah. As a as a real attention seeking stroke. Joking, of course. Very terrible. I thought maybe she died because there was a couple of things where Ella was then like at her boyfriend Tom's. She was like going to live with him, and a couple of times where we didn't really see her in the hospital, and then suddenly, yeah, there she was in the hospital. She didn't die. She's just on her possible last legs. Who knows?
Yeah,
But yeah, Tom invites her to live with him while Suzanne recovers. Um, but then Ella just makes a decision where she's like, "Well, I definitely don't want to go back to that house." For some reason, she doesn't really explain. She kind of just says, "I don't want to." she decides instead to rent a studio apartment to continue finishing the film. Tom's obviously like, no, you should come live with me, come stay with me, and she's like, no, I need to rent this studio and I need to like live here as well, essentially, because otherwise I'll never get it done.
Yeah, I need to. She's sort of committed to finishing her mom's movie at this point, right? And Tom does his old game again. It's like, do you want to have this? Do you want to have a bit of sex on this bonket? She goes, no, for fuck's sake, Tom, no.
Bonket. Does she call it a bonket?
No, that's just what those little sofas are called.
I'm gonna sit here on the bonket. What those little sofas are called. I think I've heard you say that word at least 3 times in the last few weeks. It's a lot. Um, so yeah, she basically does that, and but when she's there, she encounters a young girl who's living in the same building, who's just
A
like
burpy
milling
little
about,
girl.
a burpy little girl milling about, forcing her way into people's rented accommodation, and just being inquisitive, but almost in a very like forceful way, just like walking in. What are you doing in here then? What's this? Are you animating? Little
What's your
Cyclops,
business? Yeah.
little Cyclops lady. Yeah, what's the story about it? She tells her and she goes, that's actually boring. And I
She
go,
actually says that. She literally sits and she sits her down and probably gets her to watch like months of work, which is
yeah.
30 seconds of Cyclops Lady.
Oh,
And then it's like, oh, it's boring, isn't it?
I don't know if that would be enough to make me change my whole my mind on like the whole film. Essentially, scrap it and start again, just because of what this little girl says. A little girl who has no idea about the highbrow stop motion animation. This ain't made for kids. Little kids aren't knocking about watching this on at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning cinema club. They're not going to be watching Cyclops Lady Strikes
Yeah, she wants
Again.
to watch Rescue Us Down Under, doesn't she? She
She wants
doesn't
to
want
watch Rescuers.
Cyclops Lady.
Five Goes West. That's what she wants to watch. Um,
Where's
but
the
yeah, she
songs?
she goes, I got a new story for you. And I kept thinking during this, if this girl gives her the story, is she allowed to just use it? Or has she got to like cut the little girl in? Go, you got a writing credit on this
Yeah,
now.
sorry, you are now executive producer and writer.
Yeah. And the story is about a young girl lost in the woods. And also, this is what bothers me about this, Andy. She's like, I got a new idea. The idea is young girl lost in the woods. What's she hiding from? Don't know yet, actually. I'll make it up later.
Finish the story, mate. Give us the screenplay in
Give us the
full.
screenplay. Just give us little tiny little sections of it. Like there's a little girl
Can
lost in the
you?
woods. Can you describe what this girl looks like? Um, she looks like she's made of plasticine, but it's sweaty plasticine. Is
Sweaty
that
Justin. Mortician's wax. She
that's
has to be
it?
made of
Mortician's wax.
mortician's wax, which is special wax for rebuilding a face if you've had your body all smashed up.
Yeah, but she kind of just sees it and she's got this mortician's wax and just says you should make it out of that actually. I mean I understand the way this film goes and the twist and the change of the narrative and that. But at this point I was like, Ella, what on earth are you doing letting this girl dictate all these details to
Yeah,
you? You
and
would literally just be like, that's a lovely suggestion and I'm glad you've made it, but why don't you sling your hook?
yeah, and I think there's a time and place. There is a lot of time when the input of kids is really important. If you're making a product that's for children, hearing what they have to say would be really interesting. If it is, a child of your own and they're giving you some feedback on how, you know, what gives them a happy life, very, very important, Ben. But some random kiddie who walks into your house can't even say armature without loads of practice.
Oh yeah,
Armature.
what did she say? Just
Armchair.
armchair, that's it. To be fair, I understand that. Like my nephew's a bit. He's one of those little kids who will walk into your house and will just pretty much slate everything. He'll like open my PlayStation and just go, "Why have you got all these crap games installed?" And I'm like, "Ah, well, because I mean I don't think they're crap. I'm not sat here going." Download Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft, and just sit there like, "Ah, yeah, that's right." My nephew,
Yeah. Why
my
you got
nephew
these?
would be happy with me.
Why you got these crap games installed? Why you got a job? How much do you earn? Eh?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I do say that. I go, well, do you want to borrow this game? Do you? Sorry, no, you can't. You can rent it. £5 a day. Yeah, he's done that. He walked in, he looked at my like work setup I got going on. He told me my keyboard was clapped. I mean, it's bad apparently. He goes, oh, your keyboard's clapped.
So your English is fucked, mate. Get out of my house.
I was going, you're clapped, mate. It sounds like. So yeah, I'm totally with that. But at the same time, I would never take his advice on anything, unless it genuinely was about how to get good at Fortnite.
Yeah,
Um, but if he was telling me how to make my stop motion movie, I'd be like,
yeah.
ah, I've had a
Little
gut
kid
swing.
comes in and says, "Oh, your film's boring." It's all right, Robert Ebert. Get. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that I lived in the same building as bloody Martin Scorsese himself. I didn't know Martin Scorsese, or also I didn't recognize you,
Marty.
Ridley. Little, I didn't
Ridley, I
realize
didn't
you were
notice it
you
was
were
you.
working as a little girl these days.
Thanks for the feedback though. Appreciate it. Now why don't you just get out of it?
But no, she doesn't do that. She goes, "Go on then. What's happening with this story?" She's right. Make a kid out of this wax, if you don't mind. And she sort of dismisses it a little bit, but then she goes to bed that night and has a dream that she's out in the forest. And when she wakes up, the Cyclopses have been
Binned.
fucked off,
Is
destroyed.
that
Not
right?
just put,
Binned?
not
Destroyed?
just put, not just put over there.
Uh,
Just literally tear their heads off, mate. Give
tear
it
their
up.
heads off, yeah. Like there's no going back then. You've destroyed them. Me, I was like, I don't want to know what's gonna happen next with the Cyclops because I feel like we're stuck on the same scene, but I'll never know. So yeah, abandons it. Completely different story. The story's about a young girl lost in the woods. The set of the scene, she's dressed with just a load of twigs and
Yeah,
various. It does look like a big old bird's nest.
like a sort of nest, isn't it? And she's hatched from an egg.
Yeah, and I guess that's why obviously the poster is like a hat, is like a broken egg and like nests and stuff. There's a lot of that. I guess it kind of represents like ideas being born or being incubated. I don't know. That's me trying to be smart. Um, so yeah, describes the original project, and a neighbor comes and visits again, and it turns out the neighbor still isn't happy. She's like, "This figurine of the girl that you're making out of mortician's wax slash sweaty plasticine doesn't look real enough." Oh, right. Okay. Have you got any suggestions for that? Again, why am I listening to this little girl? Why don't you take this raw meat, takes it out of the bin. Why don't you take this piece of raw meat and basically make the doll out of this to emulate the appearance of flesh, she says. And I'm like, yeah, but human flesh doesn't look like raw meat. Plus, there's so many different things that could go wrong. Maggots, it'll stink after a while. It's probably not very. It's not very pleasant to like. It's not
To
very
work with
malleable. It's not very malleable, really, is it? You can like. Do you know what I mean? It's not
meat.
very
Yeah.
pleasant to work with. But she goes, you know what? That is an absolute top class, great idea.
And again, she sort of goes, nah, nah. At first, I goes, all right. As soon as she's gone, she's like, fucking hell, it's a decent idea. So she
It's a quality
packs
idea.
steak around an armature, and she still uses a bit of the mortician's wax as well. But yeah, she's made of meat now.
But I'd be like, where does this end? Because she's told me to use mortician's wax. Now she's come and told me to use this meat. Where does it end? She's going to turn up every day and say, nah, make it out of actual human flesh this time. Oh, I don't know about that. Do you know what? That's where I thought
I,
we'll
I,
just.
pro- I promise I'll never do that. All right then,
Yeah.
as long as you do. Um,
And and then
yeah,
the girl gives Ella more of the story where she says, okay, so the little girl is now hiding. And while she's telling us the story, it is like animated. We see it like play out
we
in
see
front of
it
our
coming to
eyes,
life, right? And then what
coming
was
to
your
life.
what
Yeah.
was your opinion on this, Ben? Is this meant to be that that it's occurring over time? Because obviously she's not producing this in a day. Is she visiting and it's like several weeks or
Yeah, I
days are
don't
going
know
by?
really. I don't
It's
know. I
never, it
almost felt,
feels quite dreamlike timing, right?
yeah, it's very dreamlike. And I always felt like these instances were just like visual representations of what the story, what it would look like. She's telling us this now, but yeah, it's gonna get take time to put it together. I don't know really in terms of the timeline of it. It's weird, isn't it? But
Yeah. It is
yeah, she
very strange,
says,
but she's building the story with this girl anyway. And as you say, she kind of feeds her the story piecemeal, which is in many ways a lot how we get film trilogies that get greenlit now, Ben. It's like, oh yeah, in part one, Michael Myers will be soundly defeated in the conclusion of a rivalry which has been going for 40
yeah,
years at this point.
it'll
And
definitely be
then
on
I'll,
fire.
I'll tell you what happens in the second and third one later. Don't worry about it. All right.
All right. So, part two. Right. Are you ready to do the story part two? Yeah, part two. Michael Myers, he's just milling he's milling about doing the same sort of stuff he
Somehow
always
he
does.
returns.
Somehow Michael Myers returns. And what about the third part? Ends. The third part is it ends. Yeah, but what
A
happens to
bit
get there?
like in a bit like in the first part of this trilogy, in many
The same
ways,
as
except
that,
less
really. Yeah,
satisfying. Except
in
this
many
time he
ways.
definitely goes into a mincer.
But you know that character you love, you know and love, who's like basically what this whole thing is about. Yeah, he ain't even gonna be in it that much. Someone else,
He's just
right?
poorly in a sewer for most of the film.
He's just bloody poorly in a sewer. So yeah, the next part of the story is that the girl's hiding from an entity called the Ashman. And then Ella basically makes the Ashman figurine. How would you describe the Ashman figurine? Just like an horrible
Horrible
monstrosity.
tater faced goon, isn't he?
An horrible tater faced goon. Wouldn't be out of place as like in fact, I even think the Cenobites would turn their nose up at him. They'd go, that's one step too far, mate.
Yeah,
Ashman. I know I've got big old skin flaps, and I've got a load of pins in my head, and my lips are like ripped back, but you look fucked.
absolutely fucked is the Ashman. He's horrible, grisly, horrible beast, isn't he?
Yeah, not pleasant
And
at all.
I
Very.
think the little girl gives a very good description. He is like that the little girl made of meat is being pursued by the Ashman, who is the person that you do not want to meet.
Yeah, he's the
No one wants
baddie.
to meet the Ashman.
He's the bad bloke. Um, do we get like? I feel like the sort of synopsis is talking a lot about Ella and the girl, but I think we get when do we get the moment where she like goes to a party? Oh wait, that's not yet. I don't think. I think
So
first.
we get a
fir-
couple of interactions first. So the sister comes round again and says, I think at the point we've at this
Is it the
point in making
sister
the
or is
film,
it Tom? Is it Tom's sister?
Tom's sister.
That's right. Yeah, yeah,
So
that's right.
Tom's sister comes round and sees what Ella is working on and goes, "Ooh, this little wax girl. Not sure about her being made of meat, but um, this little wax girl character's an interesting one. Actually, we were working on something quite similar that could be useful for this." And Ella,
Oh yeah.
tell you what, I'm on her side, Ben, but she
So,
goes, for adverts,
oh yeah, advert. Yeah,
for
she's proper
adverts,
like
is it?
for adverts. Yeah, but like artsy adverts. You know, we got an old studio, loads of people working for us.
John Lewis advert. Put a lovely bit of whispery voice singing over this.
Yeah, put a whispery version of Wheatus, Teenage Dirtbag over it. I know that's two episodes in a row that we've been on that we mentioned Wheatus, but I've got 2 tickets to
Yeah,
live.
and that's when the little girl and the Ashman realize the magic of Christmas and put the differences aside.
True, and they sing
She's like, but
together.
yeah, Ella's having none of it. She's like, for adverts, do you want to fuck off a bit? She doesn't say that. She
Mm.
just turns her nose up at it, and
Don't know.
the sister goes thinking, ah, it's all right. I'm going to steal your idea anyway. Shh, shh. Um, so she leaves. We keep proceeding with this, and then this is when um she goes away and thinks about it and goes to a party because she kind of Ella is wrestling here with the fact that she was for all this time she was making her mom's movie and not doing anything by herself, and now she's
Yeah,
basically making this little girl's movie. um yeah, she's making this little girl's movie instead and still nothing of her own, and she makes an attempt. She goes, right, on the second night the Ashman
come
is
off. The
the
Asta
Ashman
man,
cometh.
the
Yeah,
Asta man, come off.
yeah, that's not for whom the Ashman comes. Um, so
Oh, that tickled me.
yeah, so the Ashman and also the little girl insists that the Ashman, whereas the little girl should be made of something meat, the
Yeah,
Ashman should be made of something dead. She takes her to the forest. She goes, "Here, look at this fox."
look
She
at
goes,
this
"Yeah."
roadkill. Well, not even roadkill, just like a
Look at,
fox that's
look at this
died of
dead fox.
natural
Look at this
causes.
dead fox in the woods. Make
Oh yeah,
make an ashman out of it. She goes, no, I ain't making an ashman out of a dead fox. You've gone too far. Leave it out. But
yeah.
for all her trying, she cannot come up with. She's like on the second, and she's there. She's sitting there in a room. I think she's visiting with her mom.
I'd,
She's sitting
I'd,
there
I'd,
at her bedside, thinking,
I'd
"How does
start to
Michael
what?
Myers escape from that fire? I can't."
I'd, at this point you'd be thinking that the little girl was maybe a little bit unhinged, right? Before it was kind of endearing, little bit kooky. Now you'd be like, she's a bit unhinged, or maybe she's going on with it because she's a little bit scared of her. Oh, I don't know what she'd do if I
Yeah,
tell her no.
yeah, and she is sort of like an ethereal figure. She appears from nowhere. She's a bit burpy, always burping at her, and not taking the piss. That genuinely happens. And yeah, and she just seems to be like a constant presence. I think
Yeah,
even as this film watches right now, it's not been made expressly clear. But I think already at this point, it's just like, oh, is she going to be imaginary in her bloody head?
yeah. But this is weird, right? So I swear, when she first initially turned up, she was like with someone. Have I imagined that? There was like the girl and maybe a brother. I feel like I've imagined that, but or there was at least a couple of people walk past the door before she came in.
Yeah,
So it made, I think that established it as being like she was real.
yeah. The little girl passes the sister on the stairs, right?
Yeah, I think that might be it. Yeah, and because they kind of appear in the same scene, it genuinely almost made me think that oh, she must be real,
Yeah, she
unless the
must.
sister was just ignoring her. See you later.
Yeah, might have to sixth sense this and go back and watch it again to see if the sister ever actually acknowledges the little girl
Yeah.
when they're on the stairs, or whether the little girl just says hello to her.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, Ella goes to a party and she has Tom's sister, whose name is Polly. She has, oh, tell you what, um, give some LSD, will you? It will inspire some new ideas.
Give us a little bit
Um,
of LSD. The first thing you do when someone gives you LSD is walk into a room where they're watching on like the projector horrible ventriloquist dolly movie.
yeah, she's watching Dead Silence. Beware of Mary Shaw. She had no children, only dolls, and one of them's on screen, chatting on some old nonsense. Who's there?
Get away! I'm trying to watch my dolly movie. Get a bloody way!
She
Just
stands
that.
right in front of the screen. Thankfully, those people that are sat on the sofa also appear to be off their tits on LSD, so they haven't got much to say about it.
Yeah,
To be fair, a man gets a bottle smashed on his head and he hasn't got that much to say about it,
yeah, that was
even
weird.
when Ella comes and pokes him in the face.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, again, I'm guessing that didn't really happen. Yeah, so it's supposed to be inspiring new ideas, but she like hallucinates a few things. She hallucinates like the Ash Man. I'm the Ash Man,
Yeah, that's what he says. He looks in the window.
staring directly at her through the peephole. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah,
But then there are a lot of there are a lot of tropes in this that like I think in a different film would have pissed me off. But I think because the way this film was made and it feels quite lo-fi, these scares and these kind of like sudden like wake ups, you know, or like actually there aren't many sudden wake ups like oh it was a dream, but there are a few like cuts. Then she's like waking up, almost though whatever she was experiencing caused her to like pass out because she passes out like on the floor of the apartment, doesn't she? Like fully clothed,
yeah,
and
yeah. Full
and
collapse.
that's like a proper that I've been on a bender, waking up, just literally like, where the hell am I? Like, waking up like hugging the toilet, or waking up like on a park bench.
Oh, the lovely cold bathroom floor.
Oh yeah, waking up like this, and then you have, and that's when you have a lovely drink of water, and it's like the elixir of life. Oh, that's delicious! Why is it so delicious?
Get it down me.
It's the tastiest water ever.
Yeah,
And I live in a hard water area.
this is nice.
It's lovely.
Tastes like the sugary shell of a Smartie. This water does. Yum yum yum.
It does taste like that, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It does taste like that when you're absolutely gasping. Um, so I think she works out here that she actually animated the Ashman approaching the girl's door, and that was kind of what made her have that sort of episode. But she didn't even take the acid; it's still
yeah.
in her
Still in a
pocket,
pocket.
untouched. Um, and I think Tom's obviously concerned for Ella at this point, and I think he does kind of set up the thing with the sister Polly that she should go and get like a
Just
job, an actual job at a
go and have a
studio.
normal job. Is it the night before the job bit where Ella stays at Tom's house and she dreams of the little girl and
Climbing up.
her leg being made of the mortician's wax and they're getting in her?
Yeah, yeah. There's that. That was that was the scene originally, that made me kind of want to watch this film. That bit in the trailer where you see the kind of creepy. Because again, the girl is like, yeah, she's made of meat, but she's very stumpy as well. So like,
Yeah,
and her facial features aren't like well formed. She's kind of like just been like they're
it's sort of
smushed.
like welded out of
She
clay, right? Sort
she
of,
looks a bit melted as well, right?
yeah, like a little candle man, candle girl.
Candle girl,
Um,
yeah,
yeah. So I always felt this is probably the first example that we see the stop motion characters interacting outside the real world, and I can't be sure. I wanted your opinion on this.
yeah.
How do you feel when you see them in the real world? Is it creepier because they're in the real world, or do they use a slightly different frame rate on them as well? It feels that they move slightly differently when
It's
they
got to
are
be that as well. Yeah, it's got to be that as well.
independent of the film within the film.
It's a combination, isn't it? It's like the animation style, but it's also the frame rate, I think. And the frame rate lends itself to that creepy, like otherworldly, odd nature of it, where it feels like, yeah, it's something. It's yeah, I like dreamlike. It feels very dreamlike. It doesn't move like it should. It doesn't move like it should.
Yeah.
Um,
So she goes to see Polly for a job, and she thinks she's going to do some animating. Except I think this is short sighted. Like if you're going to mug someone off, they're like, oh, all right, so I'm not going to be doing any animating. Me, the daughter of a famous animator who the other animator clearly really likes, and the guy's like, oh, actually, I just need 100 eyes making.
yeah. But to be fair, it made me think. Yeah, but you've just got there. I bet there's going to be a few different tasks to do. Everyone's going to have to chip in, whether you're an animator or not. 100 eyes need making. This needs animating. That needs doing. I think rather than immediately getting pissed off, I would go, okay, I'll see how this pans out. We'll see what happens. I might
Yeah,
not be doing what I want to do, but
I get that.
we'll
Yeah,
never
I'm going to
know.
walk in and be CEO, but probably short sighted. And there's no other evidence that we see from the sister Polly that she's an idiot. So this one, and you shouldn't think Ella's an idiot either. So when she finishes making the eyes and has a little wander around the studio to basically find an almost carbon copy um of her project, the like
Oh yeah,
a little waxen girl, and a mood board which is just
just
photos from her house,
yeah.
and Polly being like,
Again,
"Oh, it's just for inspiration. Actually, we've made it better. So don't be so precious about it." I think
yeah,
Ella is very
we've
much
made it
within her
way better.
rights
Yeah,
to smash her.
yeah, definitely. Which she does. Is it like a proper beat up, or is it just a
She just gives her a
pushover?
shove, and then she pulls the house over. She just kick her in the face a bit later.
Yeah.
At some point, it does tip over to excessive, but not just yet.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Not just yet. So yeah, fuming. What does she do? What does she do? Just goes home.
Well, she goes back. She
She
destroys
does
the
destroy the set. She does destroy the set, doesn't she?
yeah. She
Originally.
destroys what they've made, rips the head off the copy, and then thinks, right, you know what? I said no to the little girl and the fox carcass, but I gotta be untouchable. So she
I
goes
gotta
and
make
gets
this.
the
I gotta get this made before this crew come and plagiarize me. I gotta come out with creepy girl movie before they do.
yeah. Um. So she goes off. She remakes the Ashman out of Dead Fox, as you do. Um. And then the little girl turns up and goes, "Tell you what, day two of this story. It's a 3 day story. Day two of the story, the Ashman touches the girl. Ella is like, nah, that's
No,
gross. I'm
no,
not
thank
doing
you.
that. She's going to escape actually, but then she has this, and this is one of the more well, it's topped by something a bit later on, which got to tell you, Ben, we'll come to it. But even me, as a horror podcast, I had to have a little look away at a certain bit later on. I was like, oh, bit of a wince.
Yeah,
But right now, it's still quite a horrible scene where Ella basically it goes from the animation within the film into real life where Ella is pursued down a corridor. Well, no, we it kind of mixed because it goes into real life and we see the little girl run down a corridor, but it's almost built into the fabric of her house between the
yeah,
walls of the house, like
yeah.
these
That's right.
things happen in real life with the Ashman made of manky old fox chasing after her, and then we kind of see it not morph, it kind of in a film, in a cut, we see like an almost catatonic Ella standing, being like set upon by the Ashman,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
and he pulls a big egg out of his mouth and pops it in her mouth.
Oh,
He
what have you
sicks up a
done?
big egg and pops
Yeah.
it in her mouth, and it's like one
Throws
of
up a
those
big egg.
100-year-old tea stained eggs.
Oh God. Fermented. A fermented egg.
Pop
A
this
tea
egg,
fermented.
pop this egg in your mouth.
This egg was birthed from a chicken's arse 300 years ago, and we fermented it with tea, and it's delicious. You should try it. Oh, I don't know about that. Sounds a bit. Eat it. Ooh.
Sorry, you're all comatose out because I'm like a magic, like a terrible eldritch horror. So while you are clinging to your sanity with your fingernails, I'm gonna
Yeah.
just pop this egg in your mouth. You'll thank me
Mm.
for it. It's a proper. I do not like green eggs and ham
Can I
but
offer
in a
you an egg?
horrible way.
Can I offer you an egg in this trying time? And it's again, it ends with her kind of like passing out, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
I think she wakes in the hospital, and like her leg is like her leg, where obviously she was dreaming about it being injured, like is actually injured, right?
yeah. Her leg is all injured. She's in the hospital. Tom comes along and says, "Listen, Ella." Oh, she gives him a sick burn first because at first he comes over and says,
Yeah.
"Oh, you could do my music videos or my album." She goes, "Fuck off, Tom.
Fuck.
You don't make music. You put on a suit and go to work."
You put on a suit and go to work, and you opened Pro Tools once in 2004 and put a little drum track on there. Now you think you're a musician. Get out of it.
Getting
I'm the real
GarageBand does make
creative.
you a musician,
I'm
right?
the real creative one, all right? I'm the one out here making stop motion animation with meat and foxes and eating eggs, and there's a burpee girl, and it's, you could never,
You just wouldn't get it, Tom, would you?
you would
Yeah, and
not
he was like, I
get
am
it.
a musician. I am a musician actually, and fuck you. So I'm off.
See you later.
Or
I did
actually no, he
that
doesn't.
I did that breathy version of Teenage Dirtbag that didn't get used on the John Lewis advert.
On my sister's John Lewis advert because he wrecked it.
Yeah.
He doesn't leave though, actually. He says, Look, I'm actually, you've taken this too far. I'm gonna go round your house and smash it. And he appears to know
Yeah.
that it's made of a dead fox and meat.
Yeah, like she's told him that, and he's gone, well, it's not what I would make it out of, but what do
As
I
long
know?
as long as you don't wake up in hospital with the bad leg, I'm all right. I'm willing to let you run with it. But as soon as she crosses that line, she's like,
But she,
right,
yeah, she insisted, all right, I will destroy the set. I'll do it. And
we'll go and do it together tomorrow.
yeah, Tom says, on the condition that I can watch Dirty Little Voyeur. And then I think and then we find out about her mum passing away, which is like weird because she was kind of like not like an ever-present figure in this film. It wasn't like she was having visions really of her mum and sort of thinking about her mum too much. I guess it was all a little bit less obvious, the stuff.
Yeah, her mom was clearly been an overbearing presence and something that she uses to drive her expectations of what could happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels like this is the turning point. Hearing a mom has passed on because in an earlier
Yeah.
scene when she's visiting her as well, she's already talked about how she feels like she can bring things to life with stop motion, and she's had several imagined conversations with her mom where she's almost using her phone
Yeah.
animating her mom in
Oh
stop
yeah.
motion.
I thought that was really interesting. So that's almost like, oh my God, there's so much to unpack there, isn't there? Like she was taking little photos of her mum and like moving her hand, almost like, and she wasn't dead at this point. She was still alive, and she stopped her, didn't she? She woke up and said something like, and there's so much to unpack there. It's like, oh, she's animated her mum in her own vision because she's like she can be in control of what her mum does if she does the sort of stop motion
Yeah,
animation thing, and her mum still woke up and said no, don't do that. One thing I stand against, Andy, is someone animating me against my will.
that's one thing I'm not having.
You could do it. I mean, they could make you do anything, couldn't they?
Yeah,
They can make you like flip off a little old lady who's just waving at you. a little old lady's waving at you, good morning. You go, fuck you, you
Yeah,
silly
animator.
bitch. No, what made someone stop motion animated me against my will? Didn't you see the frame rate? Didn't you see the frame rate?
Slightly different.
Like
How can you
different.
imagine that? I think that's the one. That is your one defense against being taken advantage of by a nefarious stop motion animator, is just to do loads of over complex movements. So if you, when you talk naturally, you like use your hands and go, well, like you drive them mad.
Almost
They
like
have
you're
to do so much work.
trying to avoid the sandworm in June for doing that funny little walk.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I'll tell you
oh.
what, Ben, a total aside and inside podcasting, but I learned from another podcast, Do Go On Today, that the line in Fatboy Slim's Weapon of Choice, walk without rhythm and it won't attract the worm, is about June. Now it all makes sense.
Oh my God. Didn't even think about that. So I did see a little TikTok earlier. Someone said, how can you have a wank if you're a Fremen? It's a really it's a really constant movement. It'll attract the sandworms. It'll attract the sandworms to be coming at you from all over. You'd have to have a really weird, like not a really weird rhythm wank. Oh, uh,
Anyway,
ah.
from from wanking on June to strangling a kid to death. Back at her apartment, so Ella obviously upset her mom dies, goes round, and the little girl is on the sofa. She says, "Oh, come here. Actually, I want to show you something." She goes, "Oh yeah, what's that?" Getting strangled is what I want to show you. Um,
Oh. Getting
look,
strangled.
while I've been in hospital, I've been
As if
practicing something.
if one person being dead ain't good enough, I want you dead as well. I've had enough.
Yeah, so sorry, there's an older person that's just died, so I need to balance out the world by strangling you to death.
It's
And
true.
she strangles her, and then it confirms what some of us may have suspected for a little while. Because even though the little girl is strangled to death on the sofa at this point, another little girl appears and goes, "Oh, got that out your system, have you?" She
Yeah.
reminds me a lot of, this is UK advert specific. You know, there's a Robinson's Fruit and Barley advert where there's a judge going, order, order, and a little girl goes, "Oh, what are you ordering?"
I don't remember. I
About
don't
it's
know.
about squash.
And
Um,
it's not an identical girl either, is it? It is just it's not a twin. It is just her.
it's just her again. She's
She's a
back.
figment of Ella's imagination.
Did you take
Uh,
it as that, or just like a young
a
her when she
younger
had more
version.
creativity that wasn't
Yeah,
beaten out of her by her mom?
maybe she represented the young creative side of her, and she was almost like reaching inside of her to speak to that younger girl in order to be more creative. And that does explain why she was so willing to A, listen to her, B, like do what she said essentially and not question it, even when it was creepy.
Yeah.
um
Um,
so
and the little girl goes, "Tell you what, you've got to make the Ashman again, but guess what? He has to be made of something bloodier."
yeah, he wants, as if he wasn't disgusting and horrific enough, he needs to be made of something far bloodier.
So
Um,
Ella thinks, "All right then. I've given up on giving you notes on your ideas.
mm,
I'm just gonna let you be the auteur here and deliver on your vision." And this was the scene because it goes on. This is, I think, if we do brutal scenes in horror this year, this is right up there for me this year already.
yeah,
She
yeah,
pulls the
definitely.
stitches out of her leg, gets her fingers right in there just as Tom and Polly arrive, and she rips a strip of muscle out of her leg. But it takes about a minute of
Yeah,
screen time for her to do that, and it is rough
brutal,
and like
definitely.
very realistically done. The camera doesn't look away. She's got her
Mm,
fingers in there, but and we've all poked a bruise, and that can be pretty gross. But like,
yeah.
you're like, oh, got a bruise there. Just keep poking it because it hurts a little bit.
Oh,
Ella's
that comes
taken that
sharp.
to 11.
Pulls out a strip of her own muscle. But while it's happening, Tom and Polly turn up. And I guess from an outsider's perspective, this is just looking like a serious mental health emergency slash breakdown.
Yeah.
Uh, because again, even the stuff that like happens now, I'm almost like, what's actually happening? Because they try and like they want to take her back to the hospital, but she manages to Kill them both. How does she do that?
So they're kind of carrying her like between the two of them. So Tom has her by the shoulders, and they're carrying like a prone Ella out of
Yeah,
the
that's right.
apartment building. Tom has her by the shoulders and Polly has her by the legs. She comes to and kicks Polly square in the face,
Nice.
sort of knocking her backwards, and
Yeah.
then does a big push of Tom down the stairs. But he's all right, don't worry. He's he's it's come sharp. He is poorly. He's fallen down the stairs. Polly runs over, but they've also brought Ella's camera tripod out of the room, so she
Oh
peeping
yeah.
Tom's her.
She peeping toms her, just like
She
smushes her face.
bashes her
What?
with it, and then she gets her in the throat with the spiky foot of the.
A spike
Yeah, she
in the
pierces her
throat.
throat with a spike.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
she
like two really wince. I'm wincing and squirming, you know?
yeah, because
Wincing
she
first,
that yeah.
but then squirming.
Yeah, and we were all forced to squirm as you see her force the foot of this tripod
Yeah.
through her throat in quite. And again, the filmmakers don't back away from this one. We don't see the end result and not the action. We see this action of Polly basically
Yeah.
having her throat cut with the leg of a tripod there, and
Yeah.
then um, you won't see this anymore, Ben. In the same technique that Bart uses to wake up Lisa, um, in the Michael Jackson episode of The Simpsons, which is now banned forever. Um, we saw Ella do this once to Tom already. He's asleep and she pinches his nose so he can't breathe and he wakes up.
Yeah.
Basically, Tom's at the bottom of the stairs. He's a bit fucked up. He's had a nasty tumble, and she pinches his nose and mouth until he suffocates to death. And again,
Mm.
less visceral and gory than previously, but horrible way to die because he's fully conscious, sort of looking at her, unable to do much about it because he's fallen down the stairs and is quite hurt, just to be expired on a stairwell.
Yeah. Brutal, eh? Brutal.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
Okay. What's
she
next?
waste not, want not.
Yeah.
Ella takes Tom and Polly upstairs, dead, and uses them to make
That's right.
life-size
Life-size
versions
versions.
of
Yeah.
Wax Girl and Ashman.
Bloody hell. Cannot believe it. Who could believe it? Disgusting. Um, and then do we see more of it like animated, where we see the Ashman sort of
The
come
Ashman
to
basically
life
starts
again?
moving in real life. He goes
That's
towards
right.
Ella and she's immediately terrified, thinking, well, she's been bringing these things to life. She's been controlling them. And at this point, they have, I guess, gained their own life and they're not relying on her
Yeah.
to move them. They approach her in real life and turns out Ella has also got a face made of wax. And
Yeah.
the Ashman eats it right up, eats her face right off, pulling her face off like she's an episode of Is It Cake?
Yeah. Eats from
Get
her
these big
face,
shovel fists in there.
um, now made of mortician's wax, and then we see Ella like going into a cabin that's like identical to the one that was in the film that the girl was going into. Um, but then we see, is it the girl, the little girl, watching the footage of
The
her?
little girl's watching the footage, and it appears to be Ella bleeding to death on her own apartment floor.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, there was this like satin lined box as well that we saw earlier on as well, wasn't there?
yeah, we saw
That
as part of the animated bit earlier on when the wax girl sort of found it through a hole in the wall.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Ella gets up from bleeding to death on the floor, looks expectantly at the little girl who says, "Magnifique, love this film. It's
And
not
it'd be
boring at all."
absolutely 10 out of 10. It's not boring at all. Roger
Yeah,
Ebert would
yeah,
be
4 stars.
all over it. 4 stars. Forget he only does 4 stars, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what Roger Ebert has to say about that. And then she has a little smile at her because finally this little girl stops saying a film is boring. She gets into the satin lined box, gives her a little smile, and
Mm.
goes in there, closing the lid. An abrupt end to the film.
An abrupt end to the film. Yeah, she's closing the lid. That's a. I hope it gets a a release on Blu-ray. I mean Ella's film. I don't mean the film Stop Motion. I mean Ella's film. The Ashman Cometh.
Yeah, the
Um,
Ashman cometh.
the Ashman Cometh. I hope it gets a release. It probably won't because she's done a few murders, and it'll probably be sealed forever. Although true crime YouTubers are gonna have a field day with this.
Doing some
Um,
armchair detecting.
doing some armchair detecting.
Yeah, oh, very good.
Very
Yeah, I
good.
mean, we've spoke about this recently, and we heard it from events like Fright Fest a couple of weeks back now. This film doesn't hold your hand at all. I can tell you that I've only watched it in the last couple of days, so I haven't had time to really even mull over some of my own thoughts of what the meaning could be, let alone digest literature on the subject or hear what the filmmakers intended. I might owe myself looking back at that one, but it kind of strikes me as again losing control of this project. There being the relationship with her mother and wanting control, and then creating something probably in the same way that her mother felt, maybe that she had more control over than lost control over as well. There are probably everyone's favorite horror tropes now talking about these generational traumas and the guilt and the things that happen and how these things can manifest through the
Yeah.
imagination and the creativity and what it drives us for, but it doesn't hold your hand in the least. What did you take away?
No, I felt it was quite unique in terms of that generational trauma sort of stuff. And talking of Fright Fest, I think a film like this would have gone down a storm at Fright Fest,
Mm-hmm.
especially being like a British made film as well. Yeah, I think there's lots to unpack. There's lots of very interesting uh visuals that I think could mean one of like two, three different things, depending on which way you look at it. Uh, it's a very unique film in terms of the subject matter and obviously the way it presents those things. And again, yeah, there are things that are kind of cliche, not cliche, sorry, but commonplace, which are generational trauma, overbearing parents, a an imaginary force that's kind of guiding your way through these things who maybe doesn't seem imaginary initially, but then turn out is. But none of those things felt like they weren't welcomed. They kind of like were
Mm-hmm.
much they're very much of this film, of of the universe that was created, and there was like a dreamlike quality to it that even when you think about it, like this, I feel like this is good. It was really creepy and had some scary moments, but like I don't think there was a single jump scare, right? Or
No,
what you would
everything
consider a jump
like
scare.
with the exception of maybe when the Ashman appears in the through the peephole, maybe, but even that
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
more sustained than it is,
yeah. Again, it
quick
just
and quick and done.
in terms of my enjoyment of this, and then my enjoyment of things that like a lot of mainstream sort of like bigger budget horror. Just again, it just shows me that sort of realized vision of one filmmaker does
Yeah,
so much better than something that's been made by a bigger studio and probably has a lot more fingers in the
yeah,
pie.
lot more
Cooks
cooks in the
Cooks in
kitchen.
the kitchen. That's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant. Not fingers in the
Um,
pie.
I mean
Fingers in the.
that's the other thing as well. Like maybe this is the commentary, particularly how the materials that Ella goes away to make, and ultimately making the creatures and the pieces for a film of herself, and through sacrificing the relationship she had, maybe there's a bit of a an angle on what the creative relationship looks there as well. Like this masterpiece that she's wanted to create has been through incredible
Yeah,
sacrifice, part of herself in there. And if you compare that to the product, what Polly and her team make, where they've taken something which is made of passion and with flesh and with the essence of its creators to it, and what they've aimed to do and are viewed as an improvement is a sanitized version of this, which is a product,
yeah.
not a piece of art anymore. Sorry, if Tom was here, he'd be going, "Buddy, I need a wankiest answer." Yes, like I do make music, but maybe there's some things to
And
go.
his
Like
name's
I
Tom
am,
York.
yeah, I'm interested to go back and read more about this. Maybe pick up some interviews with some of the creative team to see, what they share as the background and their inspiration for it as well, which you now conjure in like film festivals. I know this premiered at a film festival last year. Um, Austin Fantasy Fest was the first screening of it.
Okay.
September last year, it would appear. So it would have been nice to see what these look like and hearing, Robert Morgan, the director and writer, Robin King wrote it with him, be able to hear from these people about what
Yeah.
drove their story writing process. Was it some of the things we've mentioned? Was it a little girl telling him? Put a dead fox in that, mate.
Yeah.
Very
Nice one.
interesting though.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've got any name game for this one.
I can shoot you a couple, Ben. These will be off the top of the dome, however.
Off the top of the dome, right? I'll give you some off the top of the dome. So,
Yeah. Have you got
stop.
any? What's the synopsis there?
Yeah, a stop motion animator called Buffalo Bill struggles to control his demons after the loss of an overbearing mother, and he's getting one of his victims to apply a certain something to their body, and then says that's enough. Actually,
Is it stop lotion?
stop lotion. Stop applying lotion to that body. Okay, so you ever get the hose again.
Yeah. There you go. Um, for me, a stop motion animator fed up of bloody making things with dead foxes and dead loved ones and mortician's wax really gets obsessed with the very difficult liquid media of making films entirely with characters made of soft drinks.
Soft drinks.
Yeah, soft drinks.
Soft drinks. Uh, I'm confused now because the one I'm thinking of, I feel like it's going to be the same word. I don't want to spoil mine. So what kind of soft drinks?
Any kind.
Any
All the
kind.
all the colours of the red. It could be Coke, it could be Tizer, it could be Fanta, it could be those little plastic container ones that are made by Panda, and you squeeze them out from the little boxes. Make you a bit more thirsty if you drink them. They're very dry
Jesus.
as far as drinks go.
What is it? What's the answer?
It is, of course, pop motion.
Ah, pop motion. I thought it was going to ruin mine. That's why got
Is
caught in two.
that
Got caught in two bloody minds.
is that a regional thing? Would you not call soft
No,
drinks pop?
I mean I'm aware of it, but it is a regional thing. I wouldn't call it pop. I just call it
Fizzy pop.
just fizzy drink. Fizzy drink.
That lovely pop.
Lovely fizzy
Lovely,
drink.
lovely
Okay.
glass of pop.
A stop motion animator struggles to control her demons after realizing that the method of making the film she makes have been completely ruined because now you can just take a little drink, do a little drink, and it changes your frame rate. And so basically, that's how you make the films these days.
So you have a little drink and it changes
A
your
little,
frame rate.
a little magic drink.
Oh well. Oh, is it stop potion?
It's a little stop potion. Yeah, that's what you have to do. Take that, and then you turn into a weird, creepy, horrible stop motion dolly.
Oh God, I have to test my sporting knowledge beyond its limits. So in this in this film, a an animator um they want to make a film, and actually the Ashman's too scary for everyone. They get some notes from the producers, and they say, "Fucking hell, get that Ashman out of here." You know he's no good. No one's going to come and watch a film with him in it, but they will come and see in particular territories. Um, if you make the main character of this film the Liverpool manager,
Stop Jurgen.
what's his last name?
Oh God, why have I done that? Stop Jurgen. Clock motion.
What motion? Is that the Liverpool manager?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, lads, lads,
Bloody
lads.
hell,
Know
lads,
about
lads, lads.
football.
Beer, beer, beer. Millwall. Very good. I like it. Okay, one last one from me.
Go on then.
Um, a stop motion animator struggles to control her demons because all of her films have got too many feels in them. That film about the bloody Cyclops lady is all in the feels. Make a film that's like just crass or just silly or horrific. I'm sick of these films with all of these feels in them.
Does she want to stop emotion?
Just stop emotion. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? If you could, just briefly,
We'd probably get some bloody work done around here if you
for a
could.
minute around here.
Yeah, once in your bloody life.
Yeah. Any
Yeah,
more?
no, that'll do for me today. I think stop motion.
I mean, in terms of rating the film, we kind of summed it up quite nicely already, so I don't think we need to say much more. But I will say that unprecedentedly, I'm going to go into the A territory for two
Oh,
weeks in a row, and just because it just really did it for me. And initially, I think I preferred Late Night with the Devil, but after discussing both, I feel like stop motion has probably taken a little bit of a step towards being more of a favorite. So I
okay.
gave. So I'm gonna go for A minus again, even though I gave Late Night with the Devil A minus. It's a slightly higher A minus.
So this is A minus plus.
This is A minus plus. And for all the reasons I said before, I think it's just a very well-made film. Like it is genuinely creepy and weird and dreamlike, and like you don't know really what's happening in any way. And all of the things that on the surface could appear as being a little bit overcooked or overdone in the old horror sphere. I think we're done with a lot of measure, and it was enjoyable. I liked it.
Yeah, nothing more to add on that. I don't think, Ben. I think I like you. I think I liked the heaviness. I mean, what I liked was the amount of touch this gave us and the amount of guidance. I think there's plenty you can pick up, but it's never. And it with these engineers from outer space that did it all along ago, ages actually. Like
Not again.
it wasn't made too explicit. She didn't sit down with another character and go, "Oh, it's a ghost that feeds on creativity."
Yeah,
And this sort of
it's a stop motion ghost.
yeah, we didn't get that. We have it could you could watch this and say this is just a horrific thing that happened. It could be that you build all those meanings into it. You talk about the grief of a mother and all those other things, but so
Yeah,
much to unpick, so much to enjoy. Genuinely, if you're a horror fan who likes to be made uncomfortable, lots of things to make you feel uncomfortable in this.
mm-hmm.
Um, for me, it has a similar feeling and vibe to how much I enjoyed Censor a few years ago as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
There's like
yeah,
that
definitely.
darkness to it and the struggle of the characters and that ambiguity to it. So really liked it. A good one. I am going to join you on an A minus, I believe, and I'm going to go away and eagerly see what I can read about the background and the creation of this film
Yeah,
because I think it's a genuinely interesting piece. And also, in a world where you can farm this stuff out effectively, what a great use of, really craftsmanship type filmmaking with the stop motion being included
yeah,
in there as well. I can only imagine it was an incredible effort to make. So I think
yeah.
that should also be rewarded. Doing something that's visually different and striking will always go a long way with me.
I bet they still hired someone to make 100 eyes, didn't they?
Yeah, stole their idea and all.
Still
They
idea.
probably didn't. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, there we go. Well, what a double whammy of episodes back to back. Two great new releases. Amazing. So let's hope the month continues on as it started. Obviously, next week, as we mentioned, um, already. Don't know if actually I don't know if we mentioned it today, but we mentioned it in maybe last episode. The First Omen with returning guest Mr. John Crinnan, who joined us, of course, last month for Fright Fest. Glasgow will be joining us for the First Omen, so great to have him back. Got some nice returning guests this month covering the new movies. But yeah, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast. You'll find us bloody everywhere. And of course, thanks, Andy, for being a right horror dude.
Thanks to you, Ben, for being a right horror dude. And thanks to everyone for listening. See you all next time for the first Omen. Will there be an egg in it? Let's find out.
I bloody hope so. Fingers crossed. Right, see you later.
Bye.